It's time to move on to the NFL as the UFC President Dana White says he helped broker a deal for Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski to join the Raiders in 2020. But John Gruden blew it all up. Are we buying this statement? And what does all the off the field antics and news this offseason mean for Brady and the Buccaneers? And as you see, Brady's on my wall. That's my guy. And I would love to kick it off because I had a dream. And I'm not trying to jock the flow of my guy MLK or Peter, my guy, right? But I had a dream. And I'm not even capping here. Like I really had a dream. It's not like a figure of speech. It's a real dream where you go to sleep and things happen in your imagination or whatever, and you wake up. I had a dream. And I had a dream that Tom Brady went to the Raiders. Now, I know I posted it on Facebook on my status a long time ago, right? I just had that funny feeling. I just had the dream. It's like, first of all, I don't really dream about Brady or anybody. I don't dream about no next man. I'll just leave it like that. I don't do that. I don't dream. I don't go to bed trying to dream about anybody. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? But it happened. And in that dream, Tom Brady went to the Raiders. And I'm just saying to myself, okay, I'm buying it because, you know, I just randomly had a dream that he was a Raider. And sure enough, this report's come out. And I'm like, wow, so my dream was actually about to happen. So my dream wasn't lying to me. And I think it made sense when you think about the reality of it because, you know, the Raiders moving to Vegas, a lot of tickets that could be sold right now. They always getting primetime looks. Tom Brady would have probably fit over there. And I think from a marketable standpoint, it would have made the most sense out of anywhere he could have went. And also you can argue football because where Tom Brady goes, guys come. So you can sit there and say, well, he go to the Raiders, look at the roster. I mean, you only talk about, you know, Waller, Hunter Renfro, and obviously Gronk, but it's like Tom Brady did more with less than that, first off. And you think Tom Brady's just going to come in there and nobody comes? You see, when Tom Brady was a New England Patriot, a lot of people never talked about this. Guys were going to New England. New England. I mean, there's nothing spectacular about New England to want to go there. But yet guys flock there. Tampa Bay, guys flock there. You mean to tell me Tom Brady in Vegas that guys were not flocked there to play with Tom Brady to go? Yeah, you're bugging. So we could sit here and say, oh, they would have probably bottomed out or they would have made the playoffs. That was a ceiling. You just never know who would have came after Tom Brady and Gronk went over there. And Tom Brady is one of those guys that he's a culture changer. Listen, I could just imagine, bro, all the incidents that happened last year with Oakland. Imagine if Tom Brady was there. You think Henry Ruggs the third would have been catching cases on the third? Hell no. He would not have been because he would not have wanted to upset the GOAT. Some guys, they don't want to upset the GOAT Tom Brady. They play for Tom Brady more than they play for their damn self. I just could imagine what Tom Brady would have done to that franchise, and it's unfortunate because your boy John Gruden, who was typing emails and having all sorts of crazy things to say, blew it up. But guess what? That's his fault. Another man's treasure, and it happened to be the Buccaneers. Lil Shadamas on the mic.
Real quick, Zach, let me just quickly say this because now it makes all sense what Tom Brady was talking about in that barbershop episode. You chose this mother effer over me. Derek Carr may be that mother effer he was talking about. No one's calling Derek Carr a bum. No one's saying he's not a good quarterback, but that's what probably Tom Brady was referring to when it's saying you chose him over me, and it makes perfect sense the way everything aligns. I don't know. I forgot what's the owner's name of Las Vegas
Mike
Raiders.
Mayock.
I believe yes.
No, Mike Mayock was their former GM. It's Mark Davis. Mark
Davis. Right.
So much. So Mark Davis has his hands full of everything Vegas. I've seen him at the game, the Vegas Aces game for the WNBA. You know, he's out there in Vegas really doing the damn thing. Literally, he's trying to make Las Vegas the next Los Angeles Lakers. The way they have all this entertainment, all these different things, all these ventures to bring out superstars and famous people. And I think that could have been the situation if Tom Brady would have been on the Raiders. That would have electrified Vegas completely. It would have been the next Los Angeles Lakers story. You would have saw the whole documentary 20 years from now talking about the dynasty and all this other crap, yada yada yada. But that's something that could have been potential if Brady and Gronkowski would have went over to that Los Vegas Raiders team during the time when everything was coming together. I think for me, you know, it's a little late now, Dana White talking about it, so I think that's why he's more comfortable speaking about it, because after they got Adams, the team looked more promising, all these different things, and I think it was more comfortable, or at best, comfortable now to speak about it, saying, yeah, I try to, supplement bringing Brady around, but, it didn't work out. I think now, because if the news would have broke out before, when everything was still fresh, it would have been toxic. John Gruden would have been kicked off the team for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons, the wrong reasons this time. So I think it's interesting that this news came out, especially from Dana White. Dana White doesn't usually just say things to say it. I mean, it has some validity to it. He doesn't just make up news. That's one thing about Dana White. He does say a lot of different things. He does have some very interesting comments, but one thing he is not is a liar.
Well, quickly, Zach, I'm gonna throw it right back to you. But Zach and Zay, don't y'all find it weird that it took John Gruden that long to get fired? Like, if you said no to Brady and you see his team go to the Super Bowl, I get it. New England last year, it wasn't a spectacular year. But if he called you up and say, yo, I want to come over there, and he's literally looking at Holmes, and the Buccaneers going to win the Super Bowl, that's almost a fireable offense. It should be easier for you to get fired before that whole email thing. But go ahead, Zach.
Well, yeah, answering that question, I think we have to remember, like, Mark Davis gave John Gruden the bank a 10-year 50 or I don't even know the amount, but a lot of money in that contract. And the reason why he got fired was literally because of that email, and the NFL almost forced him to. Like, I don't think Mark Davis really wanted to fire John Gruden because he didn't want to pay him all that money, but the NFL gave him a cause. And I don't know all the details in terms of the money Gruden got from the Raiders, but I'll say this, guys, I actually think it was a really good thing for Brady and Gronk that this didn't work out, and the fact that they ended up in Tampa opposed to Vegas, just because I do think the Buccaneers were in a better position to win moving forward. The Raiders were not a very good team during that stretch in 2019. In 2020, Gruden and Mayock were missing on draft pick after draft pick after draft pick, especially in the early rounds. And honestly, when it comes to John Gruden and his coaching philosophy, one thing I know is that the offense is his baby. He would not let anyone touch that. And we know in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians clashed a little bit. But Tom Brady is obviously going to want to be involved a lot in making that offense. And even though they might have had a good relationship from when Gruden was covering all the Patriot games on Monday Night Football, like, I just don't think Tom Brady and John Gruden, like, those two alpha personalities would have worked. And I do think, the Bucs won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. So even though I do buy the report, I do think it was better long-term for Brady and Gronk's careers if they ended up in Tampa Bay and they won a Super Bowl. But just in terms of this story, in terms of the report going on that Tom Brady is back at training camp after missing 10 days, we obviously remember the Stephen Ross Dolphins tampering report. All of these stories have been going on in the offseason. And I've hinted at this a few times on the show over the last couple of weeks, but I'll say it again. When it comes to the quarterback position in the NFL, I just feel like it is so popular. These guys are stars. We look up to them. We follow their personal lives. And even the littlest things like Matthew Stafford and this freak elbow injury that's going on. I mean, literally, the internet bullied the Arizona Cardinals into removing that video game contract out of Kyler Murray's contract. Like, when it comes to the quarterback position, we follow these guys, Aaron Rodgers and everything that's gone on with him in the last year plus. And there have been so many stories going on with Tom Brady, from his retirement to Bruce Arians, his surprise retirement after Brady comes back. You even look at this Miami Dolphins story. I mean, Stephen Ross is suspended from the NFL for the first 6 weeks of the season. The Dolphins literally lost a first-round pick. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. It literally happened right in front of us. Ian Rappaport said it was the most egregious tampering he's ever seen in his years covering the NFL. We now look at this story. Is Brady having marital problems? Is he filming The Masked Singer? We don't know, but it is weird that he is just all of a sudden out of Buccaneers training camp. And still, it just seems to me like everyone's like, oh, yeah, the Buccaneers, they're winning the NFC South. No problem. Why does it even matter? The Buccaneers also lost another offensive lineman in camp this week. Do we know if Todd Bowles is a good football coach? Because I really don't. I know that with the New York Jets, Mike McCagnon didn't do a great job as general manager. And Todd Bowles, you can make the argument he deserves a second chance. But these are all things that are excuses. Like, these things don't make Todd Bowles a good football coach. And when I look at this Buccaneer team and when I look at Tom Brady, the one thing we've always known about him, and he said it many times, the reason why he is so good every time he gets out there on the football field. The reason why he's the GOAT is because of the work and the preparation that he puts in behind the scenes, closed doors, off the field. And part of me is just thinking, like, is Tom Brady really just doing this to test if he still could be his elite self without putting in the work, without putting in that preparation? But that's a risky proposition, knowing that Tom Brady has always been a winner because he's been able to outsmart and outwork his opponent, not based on his physical attributes. And especially at this age, I do wonder, what does this mean for the Buccaneers going forward? There are just a lot of questions going on in Tampa Bay, and I definitely think this should be one of the major storylines going into this NFL season. But it seems to me everyone's just like, hey, the Buccaneers, they're fine. They got Tom Brady. They'll win the NFC South. No big deal.
Zach, you said a lot there, and there's a lot that I want to pivot back to when, with a lot of things you said. Hopefully I could remember a lot of it because it was a lot. Number one, let's go all the way back before we get to this present time of Brady, right? Let's go all the way back to a point that I do want to agree before I come to the ones that I disagree with. One thing that you spoke to my mind when you said about the Raiders missing out on draft picks, because that's clear. They've been missing out on draft picks. When you actually look in Tampa Bay, their draft picks actually been hitting. Like the Tristan Wirfs pick. Remember that year where they got Tristan Wirfs, they were about like 10 offensive linemen. I remember it was like Andrew Thomas. The list goes on. It was a lot.
Mekhi
Becton, right? There was a lot of guys, a lot of linemen, and they picked the right one. They picked the best one, literally the best right tackle in the league they picked. They have been hitting with a lot of their picks. Even the kid, the safety, Anton Winfield, even that guy undersized, right? He's only about like 5'9", and yet he's voted into a top 100 player. You know what I'm saying? So they actually been hitting with the picks. So I am glad that Tom Brady ultimately picked Tampa because they're doing a hell of a job over there. And even when Tom Brady is gone, they're going to reload as long as they get themselves a quarterback. And if they do get a quarterback, this team ain't going nowhere, bro. This team is going to just, like the Terminator, just revamp into a championship perennial all-star team again because they have those guys, the guys that we don't even know about, not name brand dudes. I'm talking about guys that can play. But let's move on a little bit. Now, you said something about Todd Bowles, right? I want to make sure I address this point first before I forget this one. Because, I think Todd Bowles is actually an upgrade from Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is not really a guy that I thought was, pound for pound, X and O's, a guy that you want on your team. Quarterbacks always had high numbers of interceptions under Bruce Arians. I think when you talk about Todd Bowles and what he was a part of in New York, everybody feels in New York. My guy, Robert Saleh, defensive mind. How you had the worst defense in the league and you're a defensive minded guy. I mean, come on now. So even he looking bad out here, even though we do think the organization is coming along as far as guys on paper. That's paper. They never been good since Joe Namath. So, I'm not going to hold Todd Bowles to the Jets standard, but I will hold them to a Buccaneers standard. And if they don't come out the gate smoking blazing, then it ain't going to be amazing. Then now we know that he's not a good guy. He's not a good coach. But I think he's a good coach from I think he handles the locker room well. I think he's just a player's coach. And I think that will actually help an environment that right now is a little toxic, a little bit, with everything that went on with AB and the team last year. Bruce Arians, he actually egged on some of those toxic moments, right? Like he got a mount on him. Todd Bowles is the guy that you want, a peacemaker that you want in your locker room, controlling young men, not to talk to young men that's making the millions of dollars any type of way. Like you have to treat them like men, literally. I think Todd Bowles will do a great job of doing that. As far as X's and O's, we'll figure that out as time goes and it rhymes. But my last point, and then Zay, you could get in here if you want. There's the last point that you made, yes, about everything that's going on right now with Tom Brady and all the theatrics. Look, Tom Brady's a guy that no matter what's going on and all the conspiracies that are floating around, this is a guy that you still trust and believe no matter what. Like imagine we was in at a building and there was a tornado. If you see Tom Brady in the same building that, there's a tornado going around, I actually feel pretty safe because he's the GOAT. He'll overcome anything. I'm with Tom Brady. That's who I'm with right now. So whatever's going on, I don't even care. Tom Brady is just that guy. No matter what's going on in the locker room, no matter what's going on in him and his personal life, he knows how to juggle. Giselle been on his ass for like the last 10, 15 years. He won championships still. So it's all about juggling your life, outside your personal beings, the life after football. But if there's anybody that can do that, not everybody can do that. Aaron Rodgers surely can, right? None of these guys can. But if there's one guy that proved that he can balance and juggle 10 things at once, it's your guy behind my wall, Tom Brady, to go, TB12.
I would say about a month ago, I considered and viewed the Buccaneers strongly on that top tier of the NFC with teams like the Rams, with teams like the Packers. I'd even throw the 49ers into that conversation. And I still think they're going to win the NFC South. I still think they're going to be right up there in terms of the contenders in the NFC. But I'm wondering, Will, you seem not so fazed by everything going on with Brady and everything off the field this offseason. But I am wondering, there are a lot of questions going on in Tampa Bay right now, from them losing another offensive lineman, Aaron Stinney, I believe his name is, on the interior. And we know, we've all been watching football a long time. What is the one way to beat Tom Brady? You got to get pressure on him. That's the way to go, especially at this age. They have a first-year head coach. They just didn't have their quarterback in training camp for 10 days, which is not normal. And the weird thing is, not even the Buccaneers players know what's going on or what happened with Tom Brady. And I understand that Brady's done a lot for the Buccaneers franchise since he's been there. But from a Buccaneers perspective, I do find it a little interesting that they didn't even drop us any hints about anything that was going on with Brady in terms of why he wasn't at practice the last 10 days. And I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. I know his mom has battled cancer over the course of the last few years. And I do hope that everything, if it is something with his family, I do hope that everyone's okay, and just trying to be as respectful as possible. But at the same time, like the fact that no one in the Buccaneers organization, it seems like, knows why this guy was gone for 10 days, their franchise quarterback, besides Todd Bowles and the owner. Like, it's a little weird, not going to lie. And I'm starting to wonder when it comes to the Buccaneers. Will, you told me about a month ago that you feel, or I think you said the most comfortable for the Buccaneers and their Super Bowl chances going into a season since Brady has been there. So I'll ask you, do you still feel that way?
Absolutely, bro. I mean, I don't know. You talk about all the reasons in the offensive line, and then look, it's not, you don't want to see your lineman go down. Like, I'm not jumping for joy that my guy Ryan Jensen is out. I ain't see that report and was like, woohoo! Nah, that's my lineman, man. That's my center. So of course, when you lose, people like that, it's like, all right, what's going on here? But at the same time, injury bug played this last year. I know not on the line, but on the defense. But guess what? Despite all that, despite the injuries, despite the toxic things that was going on, we almost won. Like, we almost won that game against the Rams, who went on to win the Super Bowl, and almost had a home game in the championship rounds against a Jimmy Garoppolo-led team. We all know that quarterback don't like to be under pressure, and we bring it. We could have went to the Super Bowl and beat a young team. So there's a lot of things that fall into place in a football season. A lot of the nuances that we don't see. Sometimes luck happens, and right now, as long as we could stop dropping, like, I can't predict injuries that's going to happen. I'm not Lil Shadamas in that way, right? Hopefully the injuries stop. Tom Brady's a guy that gets the ball out fast release. He's a GOAT, and you picked in the winning division. I picked in the winning division. Once you get to the playoffs, Tom Brady ups his game. It's just a different standard with Tom Brady come playoff time. So I think the other guys like Robert Haseley, that's subbing in for Ryan Jensen, and those guys over there, they got to step up. I still like my left tackle and Donovan Smith. He's still consistent. Yeah, he'll get beat on a double move here and there, especially when they play the Saints. He don't play the Saints well, but I still have faith in him. I have faith in Tristan Wirfs. He's dealing with a nagging injury, but he should be back week 1. I believe he's the best at his position in the league. So even though there's injuries and there's cause for concern, I still have faith in the GOAT, and I still have faith in his team. I think we upgraded that coach. I think we upgraded weaponry wise, as a wide receivers. We got a lot of depth. That was the thing that played this last year. Now we got depth. So I think all in all, we have enough. And when you look at the NFC and we talk about these questions, I'm glad I'm not taking the weight of getting everybody's best shot if I'm the Rams, right? I don't want to be you. Trust me. Yeah, I wanted to be you a couple months ago when you won a championship. Now I don't, right? And with the quarterback, concerns over there with Matthew Stafford, and is on. All right, so cool. We scratched them out. The Packers, I don't think you don't lose Adams and say you're a better team. That's impossible. He's the best wide receiver in the league. You can say we'll be fine. We'll win a division. Yeah, but you don't lose the best wide receiver in football and say I'm a better team. Yeah, you're insane. That's impossible, right? That's literally impossible, bro. Especially if you can't replace that. The 49ers, rookie quarterback gonna do it. He gonna win a Super Bowl. So there's still a lot of questions in the NFC. And with these questions, there's answers. And right now, the answer that I do have is that Tom Brady is back and he's still the GOAT and he's still on top of his game.
I think real quick, I just wanted to chime in really fast. This Buccaneers team is facing a lot of injuries early on, which is unfortunate, but injuries is a part of the game. It's just that it's unfortunate that's happening at this particular juncture. Like Lil said, repeating what he said, it's not the end all be all at the current moment.
Other teams gonna get injured too. Well, it's football, bro. Other teams is gonna get hurt too. And we're gonna be like, okay.
So it's gonna be something interesting to see how this is all gonna play out, especially with the all-season news with Tom Brady. We don't know what it is. Tom, the head coach and the owner, got wind of it, and got wind. They're the only ones that know, like Zach said, and maybe they have like a vote of confidence, thinking it won't reoccur throughout the season, that he just disappears and comes back.
Zay, if I can cut in quickly, like, where do you guys think he was the last 10 days? Like, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Me personally,
it's weird.
I just think he has some relationship issues, and because remember, this is why you come to a Tom Brady guy. This is exactly why, because certain reports that you probably forgot, I could bring it up. For example, remember Tom Brady in New England, before he left New England, he was always a comer of a guy that would be there OTAs and then training camps. And then towards the end of his tenure in New England, he stopped going to OTAs. Right. So we see Tom Brady take extended leaves of absences, over the years, not to this magnitude. We had never seen this before, but we never saw Tom Brady at this age before. Right. And we know that he's having issues. Well, we should know that he's probably having relationship issues with Giselle that don't want him out the house. So maybe he's like, all right, in order for me to come out of retirement, this is what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to, manage our time here, right? I'm pretty sure Giselle and him probably made a pact that if you come out of retirement, you got to coordinate it where you can spend time with your family and your kids and help to see your kids grow. So maybe this is part of that deal. And that's just my theory. Ladies and gentlemen, what we doing here? Like and subscribe to the channel to receive these updates of new uploaded content from myself, Real Lil, Zay, Good Vibes, and Zach Attack. We'll be back. Make sure you like and subscribe and feel the vibe always. Peace.